the role of cars and trucks, in our system, in our economy, is massive. Actually, much bigger than what we care to realize. You probably either travel with your own vehicle or taking an Uber, or order a delivery of something. Only in the last 3 days, probably hundreds of miles were driven just for you as an individual. And so the impact that transportation and vehicles have on our economy is enormous.
Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Just sit back, relax, and learn from the leaders of today. It's a journey. Each one is different, unique, inspiring. Let's get started. 20-Minute Leaders is a proud supporter of Make-A-Wish Israel and Tech to Peace, and is in proud collaboration with Secret Chord Ventures, J Ventures, Riverside FM, Fusion VC, Birthright Excel, J Impact, Leap, Google for Startups, and Hippo, and in media partnership with CTech. Welcome to another episode of 20-Minute Leaders. Today we're talking about mobility and the way that technology is interacting with consumers in the mobility space. Meet Eliron Ekstein, the co-founder and CEO of Ravin.ai. Eliron has dedicated his work in the past 10 years to digitizing the automotive and transportation sectors. Before founding Ravin, Eliron was head of new business development at Shell's Digital Ventures unit in London, investing in incubating new businesses that could leverage Shell's global footprint of retail locations for the benefit of fleets, motorists, and smart cities. Prior to that, Eliron served as the CEO of Fairpilot.com, a startup using machine learning to help taxi and Uber drivers find their next passenger by predicting demand patterns in local areas. Eliron has an MBA from London Business School and is the proud father of 2 boys and 1 adorable girl. Eliron Ekstein, welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here. How are you?
I'm well. Thanks for having me.
I'm excited to talk to you about Ravin.ai as co-founder and CEO. Previously, you've been in this space, automotive space, for a while. Previously with Shell and with Fairpilot, and so I'm looking forward to understanding from you better sort of your entrance to the integration of AI, computer vision, and automotives in general, and why do you do what you do? And so, thank you very much for being here.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, tell me just a little bit about yourself and why are you so excited and passionate about cars, AI, and the intersection?
Well, those who know me know by now I'm kind of half British, half Israeli. I've spent most of my career in the UK. But the way I kind of ended up in entrepreneurship is completely coincidental. My education comes from finance and business. I did my MBA in London Business School, and then I went on to consulting, strategy, and then somehow ended up in a position with Shell, the energy company, that tried to monetize our new business. We looked at ourselves and figured that we have hundreds of thousands of customers, and in fact, more than 25 million drivers daily driving through our gas stations. And we all sell them just oil products and coffees. We sell a lot of coffees. In fact, Shell sells more coffee than Starbucks. So it's a fun fact. Yeah.
Whoa. Okay.
Right. And, it comes obviously from the fact that we have this captive audience, which is massive. And they happen to drive a car when they drive in. And we thought, okay, what can we offer them other than coffee? And we started brainstorming ideas, and then we ended up kind of, as you do, investing in companies that have all these cool solutions and products. I ended up as a CEO for some of these products and some of these companies. One of them was Fairpilot, that was targeting professional drivers like Uber drivers and Lyft drivers, and trying to sell them a software that helps them orientate around town and optimize between the different ride-hailing services. Because they never know exactly when to turn on the Uber, when to turn on the Lyft. And that was a service that quite resonated with at least a lot, the London-based driver community. When we spun that out, and I went back to Shell and I was looking for the new idea, And Ravin kind of came up because we thought, okay, these drivers are coming in and out of gas stations. Can we actually film those cars and tell something about the cars to those drivers? We could tell them, for example, that they've got rust they have to take care of because the rainy season is starting. In the UK, it's kind of always the rainy season. But that was one use case. And the other one would be tires that need replacement because they're worn out, or something that is just wrong in your vehicle and you want to know about it. You
So essentially you're saying, there's captive audience. That's, the first, aha insight that you've had, that you already have all these people coming in. How do you provide more services that will actually give them value? One, example you gave was coffee. And now you're saying that you can actually leverage some technology to passively, integrate into sort of, their current situation, maybe offer them something. And it makes a lot of sense. I mean, how many times do we actually go to a mechanic to check on our tires? And probably if we get a response that we need to change, it's probably long overdue because we don't have the trigger to go and check ourselves, right?
Correct. And then you that's the starting point. That's the interesting thing about being an entrepreneur. And I guess you've seen this yourself and with some of your other guests, that you got to have a starting point.
Right.
But then once you dive in, you suddenly realize there's this whole world of opportunity. Once you look at, in my case, vehicle inspections, you realize that the vehicle is actually very expensive asset. In fact, for many households, it's the second most expensive asset they'll ever own.
Wow. Yeah.
And yet this asset, unlike the house, is always outside. It's always exposed to the elements. It's always exposed to this random bicycle that could run into it. It's always exposed to an autonomous car that goes off piste, right? And so you kind of realize that every second or so, a car gets damaged.
Right.
And the cost of replacing parts, the cost of repairing, the cost of the vehicle being off the road is enormous.
Yeah, sure.
It's a ball game. So that got us going. And I met with my co-founder, Roman Sandler, who's a scientific guy and much more kind of into the tech world than I did at the time. He's a PhD in computer vision. He's got a terrific story. He's actually one of the first people that designed speed cameras for the police.
Wow. Okay. So we have to think.
He was looking at cars when he was 15. Yeah.
At 15.
15-year-old dude from Haifa doing his first degree, as you do, in computer science. And that's your project. That was his project.
Incredible. I love it. Now, you started mentioning a bunch of different use cases for this intersection of technology, AI, and computer vision and cars. How do you decide where to focus, right? I mean, a lot of these are consumer facing. You have to, it's not just doing the inspection, but it's also the action that precedes it, your interaction with the customer. So how do you now decide which solution is most applicative to be focused on?
Right. So that's when you step back and you kind of use your consulting skills and you think about the market size and where you think there is room to enter. And actually it took us a while to figure out what were the exact verticals and use cases we wanted to focus on. But we ended up with three major use cases. The first one is fleets and car rental, where there's a lot of transition and handoffs of vehicles. And we want to give a snapshot to the owner, which is the fleets, on how well the driver's been handling the vehicle. So that was one, and we got some customer base there. The second use case was used car assessment. Every time you sell a car, you're trying to buy a used car, that's a whole kind of black box that you need to figure out. And we chose to go into that space because we realized that some of our scans could shed light into the condition of the vehicle for an unprofessional buyer.
Right, and this goes along with what you were saying before, that this is the second biggest asset for most households, and so you would imagine that they would have a lot of great tools to make good decisions, especially when it comes to valuing a purchase or a sell. Right, this is a really big deal.
Absolutely, and when you come to think about the process today, you invest a little bit kind of research up front before you pick a vehicle to actually go and investigate further.
Right.
And you only get to the in-depth inspection when it's almost too late and you're already invested in the process, and you kind of start thinking about, like, why do I need, like, it's not a problem, this vehicle, okay, it has a bit of rust, it has a bit of damage, I don't care. I just want to buy it. And that's because you don't do enough research. You don't have enough tools to research the car up front. And what we do with Ravin is we give more tools for ordinary people to look at a vehicle remotely before they actually emotionally invest their time and effort in committing to it.
And so what is sort of the impact that this has had so far? Is this product already live and people are interacting with it? Is this making an impact already?
Absolutely. So, on the fleet side, we've been live with different companies around the world. I mean, looking at the professional driver, just to give an example, we have a client in New York called Buggy TLC, and they're renting cars day in, day out to Uber and Lyft drivers. We've seen the accountability going up and the level of damage on the vehicles going down thanks to using the tool. So that's been an amazing saving. Again, not only in dealing damage, but also in the speed and utilization of their fleets.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
In the used car space, we have partnerships like with Car Global that operates used car markets across North America. They've also become a strategic investor, and you could start seeing how this tool kind of saves time and adds transparency to the whole transaction.
Fascinating. And so going back a little bit to sort of your entrance into this world and deciding to focus all of your energy on this right now, why are you so excited about this? I mean, obviously it sounds like an awesome product. It sounds like a great problem to solve, but there's a lot of different things that one can do with AI and humans. Why is this sort of the most exciting thing for you right now?
Look, I think the role of cars and trucks, in our system, in our economy, is massive. Actually, much bigger than what we care to realize. And you probably either travel with your own vehicle or taking an Uber, or order a delivery of something. Only in the last 3 days, probably hundreds of miles were driven just for you as an individual. And so the impact that transportation and vehicles have on our economy is enormous. And I think if we can generate savings, if we can actually use less vehicles for more of the society's demands, that's a major improvement on, in human lives.
Sure.
To me.
And where's where's the big step function? Is it on the technology front, or is it on the way that consumers are willing or are understanding that they can adopt the technology into their daily lives? Because this is a pretty old idea that we purchase a vehicle. You're changing the way that we're thinking through this process, or with any inspection, right? Not just that. So where does sort of the bigger step function, if you had to guess?
Look, it's something that is embedded in different steps in the process. So I'll just give you an example. You're researching your next car online. You're buying a used car. This is another tool that helps you filter out the bad, the lemons, and really focus on the good ones that really meet your requirements. So it saves you lots of time, saves you a lot of effort. You only travel and meet the seller that you feel strongly about. And you also spend less money on these more thorough and physical inspections. And with that, you reduce congestion on these inspection centers.
Mm-hmm.
So you're kind of creating a lot of transparency that creates in turn efficiency. I'm just talking about the used car sales.
Sure.
In the fleet side, lots of savings there on driving back and forth to get a car estimated for repair. back and forth communication with customers that have maybe damaged the vehicles. Lots of different efficiency points once you adopt this kind of tool.
How does it actually work, this inspection process? Well, how do different fleet managers, car providers, purchasers, what is their interaction with your product today?
So the way we built it as a platform, but the most common use of the platform is that you get a web tool, a web application. You can click on a link once you pick up a car or you return a car, and it opens the camera on your browser.
Mm-hmm.
And you're then guided by the tool to basically document the vehicle. Using computer vision, an algorithm that we use both on the front end and also in the cloud, we can create a profile of that vehicle. We can already identify potential areas of problems. And so we create that report, we put it back into our system, and we log it. And then the use cases then diverge a bit, because in the rental experience, you'll have a log of the condition of the vehicle over time. In a used car setting, you'll have just a snapshot of the vehicle at that point in time. However, if you think about this tool a few years down the line, you could start creating a database for the vehicles of the world, really, and start logging all these inspections as the history of that vehicle, which is also today something pretty opaque.
Interesting. And what happens then? So you have some insights and you provide some information through the inspection. Let's say they're an interesting insight, right? It's this car has a malfunction in X, or you should check out Y. Is this enough for them to make a decision? Do they need to take it to a thorough in-person inspection? What is sort of the action item that you expect a customer to do there?
So if you're talking about a buyer of a vehicle, in many cases, our inspection will be enough for them to make the purchase decision.
Interesting.
Now, that is typically for newer vehicles where you have less suspicion of hidden issues.
Because obviously you can't look at what you can't see. Yeah.
Exactly. Now, we can give an indication which translates into a very tangible outcome, which is a grading of the vehicle. So today, especially in the American market, you grade a used car from 1 to 5. And our algorithm is sophisticated enough to give that grade to a vehicle. And it would be roughly close to what a human professional inspector would give that vehicle.
That doesn't sound like it doesn't sound like a significant range, giving 1 to 5. I would imagine it would be like 1 to 20 on like 10 different parameters. And okay, I'm a little surprised.
Well, that first of all, the 1 to 5 is in increments of 0.1. So it's not like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's like 3.2.
0 to 50, basically, yeah.
Exactly. So, and that's just a coin. It's a coin that is being used in the used car market, especially in North America. And different markets have their own grading systems, which is, by the way, not a perfect system, but it helps. And so I think, it's a big lesson learned for this kind of tool that just needs to plug into the terminology that the industry is using. So what we do with the tool, we basically allow a decision to be taken much more quickly on that vehicle.
Right. And if you're sort of extrapolating this a little bit further down the line, what is your vision here? How do you grow Ravin.ai, and what are you trying to make it to be?
So Ravin is really what DocuSign is for document exchange. So the idea is that everywhere that you hand over custody on a vehicle, the tool is so seamlessly embedded in every process and every transaction that it's becoming a stamp, like a fingerprint. Okay, right. This is the authentic representation of the vehicle. So obviously we'll need to add much more tools around mechanical condition, electric conditions, battery condition obviously is a big theme for electric vehicles. But at least on the physical status of the vehicle, we can already create a really good representation, which expedites the transaction, which creates a peace of mind for the person who's handing off responsibility. And I think the use cases will continue growing as we see more shared mobility. We see more fleets, more people changing hands, more transaction on a roadside, and you're no longer renting from Herten Avis, you're renting from a neighbor.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think that for me, what's most exciting here is this, the consumer behavior shift, and you're really tapping into a pretty humane process that we have today, and integrating existing technology. And I love the insight that you started with, which is this idea that both you saw through Shell how you can integrate computer vision to come up with interesting insights, but then taking it a step further as an entrepreneur and say, okay, well, we actually have this huge ocean here of possibilities, whether it's from private buyers, sellers, to fleet managers, to car sharing services. And so it's really fascinating. And I loved hearing about, your story for these past 20 minutes. I need to let you get back to running a company. And so thank you very much, Eliron. This was awesome. Best of luck, Ravin.ai. I look forward to using it myself in my next car purchase or sell. And best of luck.
Thank you. Coming soon.